Hi there everyone. In a previous video I attempted to give a book review while I was filming out in public and it didn't really go very well. So this is my attempt to try and do a bit of a more comprehensive and in-depth review of the book HOMO DEUS by Yuval Harari. I believe that's his name. Apologies if I've butchered it, or I'll throw a link down below anyway. So, the main takeaways I got from this book, he went over a thesis he presented in his earlier book, Sapiens, which was the reason Homo sapiens as a species won out over all the other human-like species, the Neanderthals and Homo erectus, was our storytelling ability, our conceptual ability to tell stories and create religions, and this united people. So the more disparate tribes could share the same kind of commonalities, common monies, or common traditions or gods, and then that helped build trust between these tribes, because even though you don't know them personally, they share the similar values, so we can work together and cooperate. So this meant that Homo sapiens were able to cooperate in much larger numbers, and obviously defeat and eradicate the other human-like species. Pretty dark, but it's interesting theory. He then goes on to talk about these like intersubjective, he calls them intersubjective ideas and religions, and how we can share these kind of commonalities, like say like money. We can, if you believe in the US dollar and I believe in it, we both share that, and we both agree that it has the value. So that would be an example of the intersubjective part. Now that's obviously like a side part. A lot of the book is dedicated to this kind of side part. The main thrust of the book, though, is that humans are searching for kind of a divine-like quality, Homo Deus, means God, and that we're going to look to extend human life and then ultimately try and conquer death altogether. So, become quasi-immortal, provided that you don't get into a car crash or die or something like that. The technology is going to get so advanced that they're going to be able to keep people alive, and that's a striving point. He also talks about as a background, he contrasts theism, belief in God, to humanism, believing that in humanism it's people, it's human values, human feelings that are the main, what you should go by, basically. Whereas in theism, it's all about God, God's plan, and it's not really too concerned with the feelings of what men want. So, because in humanism, and he says, in the West, we've moved much more away from theistic and more into the humanism from the Renaissance, that because human life is the main focus, the main arbiter of values and what's right and wrong, you have to look for humanistic interpretations rather than theistic interpretations. So because human life is the main gold standard, for want of a better word, that obviously it comes as natural that we're going to try and increase and extend human life. It seems pretty natural. And obviously the technology is there, and you can see all these kind of technological advancements. He also says that there's like three main, I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head with no notes. It's a very complex and dense subject, so please forgive me, I'm doing my best here. We're going to try and upgrade ourselves through the use of technology, either using like robotics and like mechanical limbs or exoskeletons or bionic limbs, bionic eyes, hearing devices, whatever, chips in the brain, like merging with technology, and that gives like increased speed, strength. Also on a genetic level, manipulating genes to be stronger, faster, whatever, or less likely to be susceptible to diseases. I believe there was another one, but it escapes me at the minute. But yeah, all these technologies, and he says, a lot of these advancements come from where we're trying to we're trying to correct a malady or something. He gives an example after World War II. The soldiers who came back who were horribly disfigured, that advancements in cosmetic surgery was there to try and make them look more normal and improve their appearance. And that a lot of this cosmetic surgery started just trying to help people fit in or restore them burn victims and so forth. But now it's gone to the other point where people who are perfectly normal, I'm sorry about that, my phone decided to remind me to install some software updates. It took out the camera, sorry about that. So where was I? Oh, so it takes people who are perfectly normal but unhappy with their appearance, and they try to make them better. Like, you look at like a Kylie Jenner or anybody who's unhappy, like boob jobs and stuff, or bum implants, or anything that people liposuction. You know, this is a little bit. There we go. Let's zoom in a bit. So anything which first is developed for restorative reasons or to bring people up to normal functioning will eventually be used to just upgrade normal people to make them better. So say if you've got some kind of ear transplant or ear device or hearing something that is developed to restore someone's hearing, obviously that's then going to go forward where the same technology or a spin-off is going to be used to enhance normal people's hearing, to get more out of ourselves. But he also says that this is going to be more afforded by the rich people, because obviously these technologies are going to be very expensive and life-extending surgeries and life-extending medical processes, which is going to mean that because the wealthy have access to this technology first, they're the ones who are going to be living longer, and with the super genes and enhanced stuff, and it talks about how this could lead to a lot of like social disruptions, where there's a lot of class resentment. Let's say if like poor people can't afford the technology, that they see all the rich people getting all these improvements and living longer, then that could cause like a revolt. he also said, well, over time, as the market brings the prices down, it becomes more available to people in the Western world, the lower classes in the Western world, and then to more third world countries, that eventually that then just becomes the new normal for people. And then, well, then it's the next round of technological improvements, which then trickle down. The whole process starts again. It also talks a lot about artificial intelligence, obviously, and the use of algorithms. A very key point in the book that he stresses a lot about how we are a collection of biological algorithms, and that allows us to be integrated with machines, and for artificial intelligence to kind of mimic. I may be a bit foggy on this. I've only listened to the audiobook once whilst I was driving, so I'm trying to give you my best review possible. He talks a lot about well, if artificial intelligence and these algorithms begin to replace people in companies, and then what do people do? Well, he says a common thing is that people will just do art and be fulfilled by art. But then what happens when the artificial intelligence and the algorithms begin to produce better art than people are capable of? He talks about an example with, forget the company, experiments in musical EMI, I believe it was, and their talk. They created an album called Classical Music Composed by Computer, where all the pieces on this album were composed by the computer, and how the musical scientist was challenged by a fellow composer that said, oh well, you're going to be able to tell the difference. So they decided to put on a concert and have the audience do a blind test where it wasn't revealed beforehand whose piece was whose. So, and then afterwards the audience had to guess which piece was composed by a computer, which by this other composer, and which by Bach or Beethoven. And a surprising number of people got it wrong. They couldn't identify who composed what piece. So that's also in the book. He talks about this experiment that happened with this journalist who put this device on her head. Basically just is like a 9-volt battery thing on certain regions of the head that knocked out certain parts of her brain, to the point where when she was doing this military exercise with sniper, she could perform much better with much faster responses, less anxiety, and her experience of time shrank after she wore the device, compared to when she did it the first time just regularly, where she didn't really perform very well. So that's another thing. What else did I learn from the book? It's going to be really annoying because I'm going to stop the video and then I'm going to think, oh no, I should have talked about that. Talks about video games, how I think it's not DeepMind, a video game company, I think it's something to do with Google actually. They programmed a computer to, all they gave it was the source pixels on the screen, as the input, and the idea that it had to try and get a high score at the game. That's all and obviously the computer just played games over and over and over and over again, and it discovered different strategies for playing these games to the point where it could play the games as well or better than human players. Same, you have examples in chess with Deep Blue, the famous match where the IBM chess computer beat Garry Kasparov in 2 games. I think that was in 96 and 99, late 90s anyway. And also how computer scientists have created Go, not created Go, but created a computer capable of mastering Go, which is a Chinese game, very complex, much more complex than chess. There's many more permutations and possibilities per move. So it just made making a computer so much more difficult. But through artificial intelligence, the computers began learning, and they can now beat the best Go players. So it's using technology to better people, but at the same time he says, well, yeah, when we develop tools to make ourselves more productive or do more, that's great because we get more output. But at the same time, yeah, we created the car, but what did the car do to the population of horses? The horses weren't needed for transportation, so the numbers went down. At the same time, it's okay when you're creating like a smartphone that's going to help a human do a job, but when you're creating something that is not human but essentially can do all the things that a human can do and better, well, is that, and I know it goes into the very dystopian, and I have a bias where I like to think as technology is progressing that a lot of these fears are just overstated, but there are some challenges. Talking about also when you're developing things that basically this review is not going very well. I think that might be all. Oh, he also talks about how prior to artificial intelligence, that intelligence and consciousness were always inseparable. If you wanted something done intelligently, someone to do something that required intelligence, then it had to be a conscious person. It had to be a person doing that job. However, now with artificial intelligence, the link between consciousness and intelligence has been broken to the point where consciousness, because everyone can agree that like a computer or an algorithm is not necessarily conscious, but it can still do very intelligent things, and it can take in data. Oh, that's another thing. Dataism. He talks about how that's a new, almost like a religion. Dataism, collecting data. He talks about how, well, in elections, we go into the voting booth and choose what party or candidate we like on the spur of the moment. But like as in a company, like say Google, it could read all of the kind of basically articles you've been reading, the articles that you've liked, the articles you've disliked, and create an algorithm to basically outsource your political decision to the. So it compiles. Oh, so you liked this post, this post, this post. You disliked this post, this post, this post. Okay, we're gonna run it through this algorithm. That means you maybe answer a survey, and that means that your vote's gonna be cast for this candidate rather than that candidate. You've just presented this as a possibility. So dataism, that's basically where data is so valuable, and the big companies now, like the Googles, the Facebooks, that basically harvest user data, and they use that data to make the algorithm better in the future, to the point where these algorithms know you better than maybe you even know yourself, can predict what you're going to do better than what you could. I know I've not really done a very comprehensive review of this book. It's not a very good review, I apologise. But it's the best I could do, and I wanted to do a bit of a more in-depth video. There's so many ideas, and like I said, all this video has all just been done based off my recollection from one listen through, and I took no notes whilst doing that, so I'm sure I could have done a much better job if I sat down and ordered all these thoughts out, and but I didn't want to do that. So this is all you've got. So I'm going to end the video here, end your pain and torment, and let you get on with your life. But I would recommend buying the book. If any of these ideas are interesting to you, if you want to learn more about them. Probably I butchered some of the ideas and got the wrong end of the stick, but hey, that's just how it goes. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, you are a saint, or maybe Noah Harari. maybe you watched it. I don't know. So anyway, see you later. Bye for now.